Greetings, my friends and family out there in Facebook land. It's been quite a while since we've met. However, with the ongoing and unfurling events, it warrants another of these discussions. Of course, most of us, if not all, are privy to the information that has been coming out of the United States regarding our National Security Minister, John Saldivar. And before I go any further, I think that there are some information that, or some things that I need to kind of lay out so that we have an appreciation of the gravity of this latest scandal, imbroglio. One, that the United States will not make an allegation unless they have done their proper investigation, and that investigation will have unearthed critical evidence, substantial evidence. Once there is enough to build a case, as it should be anywhere in any democracy, that evidence or that information then is conveyed to the leader of government. I think that's a protocol, that's showing respect for their friends, or I should say our friends. And in this case, I feel caught in the middle, as I am a born Belizean. I also reside in the United States, work here, pay taxes here. But as out of respect for our friends, that information then is conveyed to the leader of government. So, with that said, for Mr. Barrow to get up in front of the world, not only the Belizean people, in his press conference last week, to say that he doesn't know, or to say, or to raise this charade that he did, that he asked his members of cabinet, he did some kind of poll in cabinet to find out who, if any of them, did engage in business with Mr. Lev Derman or Levon Termengian, is an outright lie. It is disrespectful to the United States, that we have had a long relationship with, a very cordial relationship. As we all know, that the Belizean dollar has been pegged to the US dollar for decades. We all know that our nation's reserves are banked in the United States. So there are serious implications to what this latest scandal. So for Mr. Barrow to get in front of the Belizean people and the world to say that he doesn't know is an outright lie. It is grossly disrespectful. And doing this just to cover for John Saldivar, who he hasn't said, but all indications are that he supports John Saldivar to succeed him as the leader of the United Democratic Party and possibly the leader of our nation. You know, you are all welcome to your cynicism, your skepticism regarding the media, and you're all welcome to your defenses as supporters of either parties at home. But this has once again raised dire national issues, dire national concern that cannot be diminished by the everyday party politics. This is not a UDP versus PUP thing, or PUP versus UDP thing. It's a national thing. We have already suffered some blows economically because of the corruption in our government, and we cannot risk the chance of any further damage that this could quite possibly bring on us. I will say now that and for the benefit of those who act as if though they don't know, that many Belizeans and some in key places are privy to information, have access to information. In my case, there is a website, and you can Google it for yourselves, called Pacer Monitor. And that website is an accredited website by the United States, what would I call it? The United States judicial system, if you will, where all cases are recorded there. You are not spared public scrutiny per se. You are not given anonymity on that website as long as the information has not been ordered to be sealed. Everything is published on that website, pacermonitor.com. You can Google that website. It is a it's a pay per access website. And if you're willing to pay your $45 a month plus whatever it costs to print whatever documents you're interested to keep, you are welcome to the same information that I have been welcome to, so that you can see for yourselves. So myself and along with other Belizeans who are very concerned, have been monitoring closely the unfolding of this latest scandal, which involves this Lev Derman and this biodiesel company, the bilking of the IRS, which is the tax department of the United States government, of $500 million US, which is 1 billion Belize dollars. And if I recall right, 1 billion Belize dollars is half of our GDP. So it is not a case to be looked at, to be diminished, to be watered down as some kind of political thing, or some of us who may be supporters or empathetic to one party might be trying to do to destroy John Saldivar. It is not. It is a case that has dire national consequence. At this time of year in the United States, everyone who legally works here, who pays taxes here all year round, are receiving their tax forms and are filing their taxes and are expecting their tax returns. It is what the government does. It is that relationship that every law-abiding citizen knows. It's a sacred relationship, if you ask me, that citizens have with their government. It is why citizens monitor what their government does, and why citizens take necessary actions when the government does wrong. But for the folks who pay taxes here, they're looking forward to their benefits after having done their part as citizens. So this case that involves Derman and the Kingston brothers and now we know John Saldivar, where the company that Derman and the Kingston brothers operated in Utah lied to the government, the IRS, about the manufacture of biodiesel, lied about the components used to manufacture the biodiesel, and lied about the quantity of the biodiesel they manufactured. Now, what the government does, that when you do anything that supports the government's policy, in this case the United States has had for a very long time the Environmental Protection Act, and under that the government sponsors many programs and supports citizens who do things that protect the environment, that preserves the environment. So in this case, these gentlemen were supposedly making biodiesel where they they gathered cooking oil from restaurants, and they would turn that into diesel. And if you Google again on YouTube, there is a lot of helpful information that will educate you on how biodiesel is made. So they gathered this cooking oil, and they supposedly were making biodiesel. And for that, the government said, "Great job, thank you," and would reward them $1 US per gallon. So they had amassed, as according to news reports, $511 million in credits from the IRS, from the United States government. Turns out when the government did its due diligence, as they will do periodically, when they went to investigate, they found out that these men lied about the components, and they lied about the quantity of biodiesel they created, and thus raised this serious issue. Then when they did, as is done here in the banking system, everything is policed and is monitored, as should happen again in a civil society. They found out again a lot of irregularities. So the allegations that have now surfaced the name of John Saldivar, our Minister of National Security, are not to be lightened, are not to be diminished, are not to be diluted, are not to be mixed up in that political back and forth that we have at home. By doing that, we're doing a disservice to a very mature civilization, if you will, a very mature environment, a very mature system of government that is respected around the world. Have whatever opinion you have of the United States, but there are certain standards, there are certain bars that the United States has set. So you cannot say to a federal employee, a federal worker, the FBI, and anyone involved in these types of investigations, in these types of cases, you are lying, or I don't know what you're talking about. Kind of dismiss the allegations made, and they're only allegations until they have been proven in a court of law. But what have we discovered so far? Now that the name John Saldivar has surfaced, there is also the evidence that says that there are text messages. And believe me, there is not only records showing, Jacob Kingston spoke with John Saldivar. It is actually the contents of those text messages that have been captured. And just a segue for a little bit, I am surprised that John Saldivar would be put off, or Mr. Barrow would be put off. And I won't say the UDP. You know why? Because I've heard from several supporters of the United Democratic Party who are outraged, who are frightened, literally frightened. I am surprised by the responses or the reaction of John Saldivar and Dean Barrow regarding the allegations, simply because this same John Saldivar had hacked the email of the now leader of the opposition, John Briceño. We all remember that incident when Saldivar got up in the House of Representatives, and as Briceño was making his presentation in his budget speech, Saldivar was echoing him and boasted in front of the nation that I got a hold of your email, and I know who wrote your speech, or who helped to present your speech, and here it is. So now when the shoe now is on his feet. The shoe is on his foot, and for some reason it seems that shoe is uncomfortable, Mr. Saldivar. It seems that shoe is uncomfortable. Now there is another filing. There's another filing, but it's numerous pages, and I will share it as painful as it is. Believe me, I do have a life here. But there's another filing that describes transaction by Mr. Durman. Transactions between Durman and Jacob Kingston, the person who will stand up in court and testify that he spoke with Saldivar, and testify on the contents of those conversations with Saldivar. But Jacob, as far as we know right now, was acting. Jacob Kingston was acting on the instructions of Lev Derman, and the transactions in one of the filings that I have read describes transactions that banking transactions, withdrawals, bank transfers, wire transfers, and all these things. You don't do those transactions in the United States without it being traceable, without it being tracked in real time. So the time, the date of those transactions, the amount in those transactions are all recorded. And again, that shows a direct trail. It places some of those transactions, places the dates on those transactions. John Saldivar was in the United States. In fact, he was in Utah. It is not hard for anyone with I will say half a brain, because there are some people who still want to play this game and attack messengers for saying what is out there already. And interestingly, that neither Saldivar nor Barrow have issued any threats saying they are going to sue, as they did when Sanctuary Bay first came to the first surface. They will sue you. You cannot publish anything. You cannot say anything. In fact, Barrow had threatened to sue Vaughn Gill of the People's United Party. There are no allegations. There are no threats to sue this time. I wonder why. But here is not a time for us to play the games that we have been playing and to play that politics that we have been playing, because other people who see the gravity of this latest case don't have time for it. I certainly don't. I have the access, and thankfully I have the resources to access these filings, and as soon as they become available, I will be sharing them, as I have been doing. But what we have before us now is a serious situation that places the entire nation in a very vulnerable position. Economically, we have not been doing well, and somebody can say, you know what, we're sick and tired of you people. Let's freeze your assets in the United States. Let's cut off all banking relationships with Belize. We've had Sanctuary Bay that built Americans of millions of dollars, and now we have this where a member of our government thinks thinks himself entitled and emboldened because he has been defended every time by the Prime Minister of Belize, the Minister of Finance, the person who says the buck stops at me. He has been shielded from scrutiny every time. But now this is serious. This is federal dollars. This is the IRS. This is the big kahuna. You benefited, whether wittingly or unwittingly. He benefited. He came. He took that money. He traveled to Belize. He entered Belize with that money undeclared, where the laws of Belize says that you must declare sums of a certain amount. And the law doesn't say, oh, the Minister of Government is excluded from this law. It doesn't say, oh, the Minister of Finance is excluded from this law. Oh, it doesn't say, oh, the Minister of National Security is excluded from this law. No, everyone should go through that security check. So what absolves John Saldivar from that same kind of scrutiny that every citizen must experience? And for Barrow to now get in front of us, he has insulted the Belizean people. He has insulted people who love him as their leader, who love their party. He has insulted our friends here in the United States. He has insulted this civilization, this democracy, this system of government. He has insulted the very laws that some of them he has implemented. For Barrow then to look at the people of Belize and say, maybe he can defend himself, because he knows, like I said, he knows. He has always known. To say, oh, he can say that it was campaign finance and we don't have campaign finance laws. And I'm like, really, Mr. Prime Minister, you can say, oh, you can use the out that we don't have campaign finance laws. How does that make us look as a nation? Then it says Mr. Drug Dealer, Mr. Man who is landing your plane with thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of drugs. You can sponsor a campaign. You can sponsor John Saldivar's campaign. You can sponsor the campaign of any party, the PUP or the UDP. That is not a defense you use. And it says something about us Belizean people when we sit there and we accept these kind of explanations. It is just not right. And we have to, I don't know if I know that we have access, our people, you have access to American news. Look at what is happening in the United States right now. That Mr. Trump is now on trial, possibly, to be removed from office because he did some things that are outside of the laws of the United States, that outside of the laws and protocols that he's expected to observe as the president of the United States. We don't have campaign finance laws, but we should be apologetic about not having that, because we belong to a family of nations that these laws should be passed. That is not an explanation that you give. That is not something you say, but we don't have those. No, man. Because when we say we don't have campaign finance laws, we are saying Mr. PUP and Mr. UDP and Mr. VIP and whatever P's that exist in Belize today, that you are welcome to take money from Lev Derman, from the people who are flying these planes into Belize with drugs. You are welcome to take money from anywhere. As long as it's campaign money, you can take the money from any source. You know what? Mr. Trump can't take money from any illegal source. No person campaigning for public office can take money from an illegal source. If it is discovered to be from an illegal source, they have to return it. And they better prove that they have not had any other business beyond what it may look like. That is the kind of scrutiny that a democracy that is mature, that is responsible, that is the kind of scrutiny by which they operate. So it makes us look very stupid and backward as a nation. And I refuse to be labeled by those standards. We just cannot. We just cannot. Agree, Janice, and from both sides. But I am thankful for the exposure that I've had. That I cannot play this kind of politics that we play at home, and it's games we play, but we play with lives. John Saldivar, as the Minister of National Security, he's responsible for the security of Belize, and it's not only our physical security, he has some responsibility to our economic security. So when he violates the laws of security of our nation, man, we all should be outraged. And I am not mincing words. Saldivar is one of the persons who accepted 50,000 Belize dollars, taxpayers' money, from Lev Derman. It is there documented in black and white. Barrow must act now to call Saldivar down from the race for leadership of the United Democratic Party and remove him from government. If not, those of us out here, taxpayers out here, have a right, have a responsibility to file reports, because this is not the first time, to file reports, to take whatever action to ensure that John Saldivar is arrested and brought to the United States to stand trial. Since Barrow doesn't think that Saldivar committed a crime, we here know. And we're not interested in playing the game. We are just not. I will tell you this, and it is well known. Patrick Farber and I have not been friends for a while, because there are certain things I will not condone. But we were friends. We were friends for decades, for years. I remember Patrick Farber at 13 years old, because I was a member, active in the United Democratic Party. I was one of the in my younger years, was responsible for the revamping, if you will, of the YPF, the Youth Popular Front, which is the youth arm of the United Democratic Party. And I've known Patrick from those days. I will also say that a lot of Patrick Faber's folly, I think, can be attributed to immaturity. But I think now Patrick Faber gets it. The seriousness of the job that he is now seeking to lead his party, to lead the nation. And I know that he gets it from the way that he has been conducting his campaign, from the way that he has been communicating via the media. And for that, while I can forgive, because we should forgive the things that he has done, I have to. If Belizeans, I don't have a dime in this. I can't even vote at home. Thank you, Mr. Barrow. But you people, some of you who I have as friends on Facebook, who will be going to your convention and voting for a new leader, you cannot in clear conscience, remember, you're not voting for yourselves. You are voting for the people of Belize. You are voting for your fellow supporters. You cannot in clear conscience go and cast a vote for John Saldivar. Knowing what you know now, because like I said, I am not mincing words. The information is there in public. It's not saying that you cannot publish it. It has been publicized in the United States. And if you use Google right, you will find the information. You cannot in clear conscience go and vote for Saldivar. If the choice is Saldivar and Faber, then I think you ought to know what you need to do out of a sense of responsibility to the nation. We must stop the carnage in Belize, and the carnage and the suffering in Belize is born out of corruption in our government. Before I leave it alone, I wanted to share with you also recent developments, and this is from the same website, PESA Monitor. Now, some of the information on this website is sealed, and how information is sealed. Parties in any litigation must apply to the courts for certain things to be sealed. The court doesn't just decide, and the court doesn't just say, "Oh, I'll we'll seal this." No, you have to apply. Either the defense part or the plaintiff part must apply for the information to be sealed. So here we have, and it is sealed, but what you get is a little preface, if you will, for the as to the content of the document. But it says, and this was filed on January 21st, it says, oral ruling of the court directing, and directing is in caps, directing defendants Chadwick and Puke to search for any emails, texts, and documents regarding the interaction of Sanctuary Bay and Kanantik, which, if you Google again, it's all in Belize, as well as any individuals involved, and to produce any found to the Federal Trade Commission as directed by the morning of January 27th. Which means that we have two major cases involving officials in Belize that will be happening on Monday, the 27th. That of the case of Lev Derman, Jacob and Isaiah Kingston with the IRS fraud, and the other case of the Sanctuary Bay case, which is not finished, and it looks like it won't be finished for a very long time. But what the Federal Trade Commission is saying, we want to know who else is involved. We want their communication by any form, however they communicated. We want it, and they're asking for it. They're giving these people a chance to present that information. In other words, don't let us go and look. And John Saldivar again is well aware of how it is done here. You don't hide anything from the government here. You don't hide anything from investigators here. And if you hide anything from investigators, if you lie about certain things, there is that charge called obstruction of government, obstruction of justice. There's that charge of evasion for evasion. There are serious charges, especially to federal investigators. There are certain things you don't do. So when Mr. Barrow is getting up there and lying to the nation, to the world, about the involvement of Jan Saldivar in a very serious crime, obtaining 50,000 Belize dollars, tranches of 50,000 Belize dollars of money that was illegally obtained from the government of the United States, it is serious. It is very serious. And if you haven't stopped to think about your place in this whole saga, then it's about time you start thinking. Because what these people are looking to do now, they are going to crash our government. End us as a civil society. They have exposed us to serious danger. Every Belizean is exposed, whether you love the UDP or you hate them. And like I said, this is not, for me, it is not me against the UDP. It is me as a Belizean expressing what I see is something very frightening, something for serious concern about the future of our nation, about the few dollars that we have saved up in the banks here in the United States, about the ability of our people to go to the banks to do transactions, about our ability to trade. I hear the opposition talking about Belize's ability to trade. We can't trade if we have people in government that are dishonest, that are thieves. Nobody wants to do business with a thief, with somebody they can't trust. Jan Saldivar partnered with somebody who is sitting in Belize's jail right now for murder, for extortion, has been found guilty and is yet to be sentenced. And there also raises another question. Why hasn't Mason, the person known as Mason, and his cohorts, why haven't they been sentenced as yet? Jan Saldivar, when he was questioned about his business with Mason, lied on national television. Lied. So he has a record of lying about serious money transactions. You're doing business and he says it's only about $50,000 that he did. It seems that he likes 50. That's his number. Only $50,000 worth of business that he did with Mason. He lied about that until the documents were leaked. And then he had to say, it was only that. But we don't have the kind of investigation, we don't have the kind of authorities that we have in the United States, or they don't operate, because we have those authorities on paper. So nobody goes and orders the bank to open up the books, go through the books, and see who deposited what, when, and where the proceeds of those deposits, the origin of those deposits, where did it come from? The FIU is not interested in that, because the FIU is again politically appointed and controlled. The police is not interested to say, "Hey, John, come over here." That's their minister. And the police is politically controlled. So we don't have the people who will act in the way that federal officials operate here. They know their first responsibility is to the people. They know that whatever they discover, they have a responsibility to tell. And the media knows here that they must know, they're obligated to know and to tell. But that is not how it operates there. In other words, that this system, the status quo, I will say, the status quo at home has been preserved to enable, to facilitate the corrupts in our government. And at some point, we must be outraged. At some point, we must defy those laws that don't operate for us. Meaning that when we are scared to be silent, we must defy those laws. We must defy those protocols that say, no, oh, you must apply to the police to go to hit the streets and protest against the Minister of Police. It has become more and more expensive for Belizeans here who want to do business at home, for Belizeans who want to help and support their families and loved ones at home. It has become more and more expensive. It has become more difficult simply because of what our government has done. It has subjected us to this. So now there are protocols in place. We have lost certain banking relationships that we can't do business. What do you think that John Saldivar has gotten himself involved in? What do you think this will do to our nation? What do you think this has already done to our economy? And we have a government, an opposition who is preparing to go into government and is saying we want to enhance trade. Nobody's going to trade with a nation that has the reputation that we have garnered so far. But my people, all I'm asking you is, you know what? That politics that Barrow and Finnegan and that crowd have been playing, it needs to stop. As a sidebar to this, there is also what this case with Lev Derman, aka Levon Tremenjian, what this case has also unearthed or resurfaced is the immigration scandal, where John Saldivar again and members of the Barrow cabinet were engaged in illegally selling Belizean citizenship. There were no laws that provided for the sale of Belizean citizenship, which means just like when you come to the United States and you apply for a green card and you apply and then you later apply for citizenship, there is a period of time that you must consistently live in the United States before. There are no ministers in government or Congress people that you can go to for recommendation that you become a citizen overnight. Any person in office in the United States who signs such a document and calls up an official, a worker in an office and say, oh, give Rhenae Nunez citizenship, writes such a letter, would be publicized, because I'm sure that person knows the laws, knows the rules, and that person would sound an alarm. And whoever wrote that letter, whoever made that request, would be dragged before the courts, and they will lose their jobs and more likely end up in jail. Here again, we had, under the auspices of the whole, the gang, John Saldivar, Finnegan, and I will say Mr. Barrow, because Mr. Barrow was approached for this Lev Derman, aka Levon Tremenjian, to become an honorary consul, whatever Mr. Barrow wants to term it as, honorary consul resident in Las Vegas, and that request was made. You know who rejected it? The United States. But these people in and it's not naivety. It's outright ignorance, and expecting that, and in their ignorance, they expect that everybody else operates according to their standards. So that request was made. The audacity. That request was made to the United States to make this man a representative of Belize. And the United States said there is derogatory information. That is how that would be termed. But you know what derogatory information means about somebody? Something very serious there. Belize, no, you should not have this person representing you. But Mr. Barrow flies that over the heads of the Belizean people. And quite a few of our citizens who are so beholden and so in love, who hold up their politicians, their political leaders as gods, and fail to see, like every human being, that they have their weaknesses, will defend gross wrongdoing. When this country, like I said, you're welcome to whatever opinion. You are welcome to it. This country has said to you, Belize, no man, this is not the person you want representing you. Why is it? Again, we use this stupid excuse. And we look so dumb as a people that, oh, we didn't know Saldivar about Mason. I didn't know. What kind of national security outfit do we have? Who are you as a minister of national security holding the highest office of national security? You can't get on the internet. You can't afford a computer and access to Google to look up the background of this person known as Danny Mason. You couldn't look up the background of this person known as Lev Termenjian, Lev Derman. You couldn't pick up the phone and call our counterparts resident right there in Belize, especially when they come from the United States. You couldn't call our counterparts there and say, do you have anything on this person? This person is applying for a certain office. This person is applying to do business. You know what? Because it's every day. It's done here. The simplest of job that you want in the United States, there is first a background. There is first a background check. And I've been subjected to such rigors. Why is it that in 2020, Belizeans accept this kind of stupidity from our leaders? Our leaders who are well traveled, well exposed. You can't get on Google because much of what I know, Google. On my phone, on my computer, Google. You drop in the names of those people and it's right there before you. But our leaders will get in front of the nation, in front of the world and say, I didn't know the information surfaced. Having the entire nation look like, we're a bunch of ignorant people. But at this point, my people, before I leave, what the immigration report, the Auditor General's report on what occurred in the Immigration Department, what that has exposed is that there was deliberate and concerted action by members of the Barrow cabinet, along with political appointees and some public officers, long-serving public officers, to defraud the system, to mislead the people of Belize, and to gain from it personally. And they have done that. I do not expect for Aldo Salazar to furnish the report from the Senate inquiry. I do not expect it. For him to do so would indict every member of that scam. Barrow will not allow for such a thing to get out. What I also found out from reading that report, because I've read the reports, both, there are two reports from the immigration scandal. What I also noticed, there was a common trend, if you will, where Asians who entered Belize were with American passports. They entered today, the plane lands before midday, they are, or around 1 before the close of office, the Vital Statistics Office, they went over there, they had their names changed And by the next day, they had Belizean citizenship. This could not occur without the direction of people high up in the office and in office, and we know that. There are numerous accounts of this occurring, which means that people who have gained American citizenship have deliberately set out to lie and hide whatever possession. And if you go to the back of the American passport, it says there clearly that you must declare, whether you're an American or a green card holder, you must declare your assets. You must pay taxes on whatever you earn, whether here or elsewhere. Those people, why would you then, as soon as you land, you change your name? And I'm sure that those people have come back to the United States. And when they come back to the United States, they use their American passport. When they go to Belize, they use their Belizean passport. So then how does the United States track whatever it is that they have, whatever it is business, that whatever it is monies they're funneling that way? What the hell is going on in our banking system? This happened, and John Saldivar was up front and center in that scheme. So was Edmond Castro. So was Erwin Contreras. So were other people in our government. Some jumped up and ran to court to have their names removed from the report. But it doesn't change what the Auditor General found. And there has not been any evidence to prove otherwise, that they were not involved. But if I were to write that report for Aldo Salazar, it would be a very short one. There was deliberate and concerted effort to defraud the government of Belize for personal gain by members of the Barrow cabinet. It is there in black and white in the Auditor General's report. As for the United States needs to track every person listed of Asian descent who entered Belize, who changed their names within 24 hours, and by 48 hours time they were Belizean citizenship. Find out what the hell, where those people are. Where those people are. What's going on? But there's much to be gleaned from that report. We don't need Aldo to tell us anything. We are at crisis stage. This time it is serious. With that, my friends, I'll leave you, and I promise you that as soon as other information becomes available, I will be sharing that with you. The last information, because I'm also following the Reinaldo Verde case. That was the former deputy director of tax services, who is in prison in Florida. He has tried to apply for bail or for amendment to his sentencing, to his incarceration, because he hasn't gone on trial yet. He has tried, and those were denied. So he remains in prison until trial, and he's also being he has also been charged for extortion and I think obstruction of business or something to that effect. But those are the things. So I'm following right now the Lev Derman case, the Sanctuary Bay case, and again paying close attention to this, reviewing once again the immigration thing, because that comes up front and center. It's up front and center again in this matter. But I cannot beg you to have a wonderful day. But I will say, stay woke. Stay woke. We're living in critical times. I don't know what Mr. Barrow's decision will be going up to February 9th when this convention is supposed to occur. But I would hope that he is seriously considering other options. But we cannot We cannot take the chance of John Saldivar becoming the next leader of the United Democratic Party and perhaps the leader of our country. Saldivar is trying to save face, being fake as he is, as the fraud that he is, going around campaigning and posting pictures on his campaign page saying that this constituency and the delegates have all endorsed him, and from optics, because of the show from different divisions that showed up at his launching last year. It appears that the Prime Minister is supporting Saldivar, and that for me is a serious issue. When Mr. Barrow comes out and says, we don't know, no names have been called and stuff. Man, Belize is small. You think people in the United Democratic Party won't say anything? And you think those of us who are a little bit more savvy won't be digging for that information? I will not spare Mr. Barrow and John Saldivar in this case. We cannot afford to. So I would want to say to those people, Saldivar and Barrow, if you have any lawsuits to send, kindly meet me at JFK or one of those airports. I'll be glad to meet you there to receive those papers. With that, my friend, take care of yourselves.
Oh,